Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today and the first workshop that we're going to be providing to the community of a series of 3 different workshops that we're going to be providing this month. We are Next Level Up Counseling Service in the District of Columbia. We are a private practice in DC, but we serve families and children and individuals in Maryland. We would like for you after the training to visit our website. Is under, if you see the presentation right here, you can see the website. You can go there and find more information who we are, what we do, and what services we offer. So again, thank you for being here. Before we go into the presentation, I would like for my business partners and my friends to introduce themselves, and I would like to introduce myself as well. So my name is Juana Marquez Villegas. I'm a licensed professional counselor in DC and Maryland. I have been working with children and families for the past 12 years, and I'm very excited to be providing this training for you guys today. So maybe my one, Dina, if you would like to introduce yourself to.
Sure. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Dina Gergis. I am a licensed clinical social worker, licensed in DC and Maryland. I have nearly a decade of experience working with kids and families. I love this work and happy to be here and meet you all.
Good morning, everyone. I am Leticia Manuel. I'm also a licensed social worker, clinical social worker, and I provide services to children and families, both in DC and in Maryland. I have been doing this work for a little over 15 years now, and I absolutely love it. I'm excited that we can be together providing these workshops for you guys.
And as you heard, all of us have a lot of experience working with children and families. So our private practice is specialized in servicing children and caregivers and families navigating behavioral challenges and other counseling programs that might be facing, whether it's a school, a home, or in other settings. So we are happy to have you here. And so let's start with our workshop. So today, we're going to be providing a workshop on how to support children's ages 3 to 5, and this is early childhood. But before I go into providing more information about this beautiful stage of development, I would like for you to think about two things. One is, if you can remember, there's kids that do not have memories of what happened to them during this age, but I would like for you to think about the parenting style, like how you grew up, how were your parents with you, were they kind? I would like for you to think about that. And the other thing that I would like to think about is that if you would have the opportunity to talk to the inner child during that age, what would be something that that child would ask you? Like, what would be something that that child needed at that time? And I just want you to think about it right now. And then later on, maybe we can talk a little bit about that. And I will share with you the reason why I would like for you to start thinking about those things. So next slide, please. So today our agenda is to provide information about child development, the stages and some activities that you can do at home on how to help your child reach those milestones. The other thing that we would like to focus on today will be the areas of potential development concerns and understanding behaviors and how to deal with those challenges at home or at school and in other settings. So next slide, please. So we understand that early childhood, and this is just a review. I know that you are familiar with this information, that you already know about it. This is just a quick review that we're going to be doing about. And so we understand that early childhood is developmental that begins ages 0 to 5. By some scholars think that is before 0, during prenatal. But right now, for the purpose of this workshop, we're going to be focusing on preschool age 3 to 5, but just quickly identifying to that the early childhood during infancy and toddler years. This is the time that kids are growing rapidly. Their brains and their bodies are growing a lot and they're learning a lot. So it's essential to kind of like focus on those two stages too, because that will influence on how kids ages 3 to 5 will behave and act later on. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, right, during this age 3 to 5, kids are learning very quick. They're learning fast. There's a lot of opportunities that that have to learn, whether it's learning how to count, how to name animals, a lot of things that happen. So we know that during this time is very critical. It's important for we as parents. And just let me stop for a second. I'm a mother of three. I have a 3-year-old and I have 1-year-old and a teenager. And so this is that, especially for this age that we're talking about right now, as a parent, we provide a lot of opportunities to our children to expand their knowledge, to learn more. So we know that at by the age of 3, the brain reaches 80% of adult volume. That means that the children's are learning a lot, but it's critical to how much information they're being exposed to, how we're teaching them, because we don't want to cause any damage or any traumas, right, in the future. We also know that this is the stage that they're learning, like anything that they hear is like they're learning so quick. They're very fast learners. So we had to be very careful how the language that we use, how we talk to them, how do we communicate, because it's going to have an impact later on. So this, to me, this is the stage of development that is very critical, and that we have to be very careful. And but there's always help and support, right? If we need guidance on how to deal with this age and how to support children. Next slide, please. So again, just a quick review of some of the developmental domains of during this age. One would be motor and physical milestones. So here we're talking about more like, what is my child able to do? Is he or she able to jump, walk? At this age, 3 to 5, they should be able to walk very well, right? They should be able to dress themselves. By the age of 3, they might have a difficulty doing that, but the age of 5, they should be able to dress themselves. But if you're from a culture like my culture, the Latino culture, we tend to do things for our kids. So sometimes that could be a little late for some children. Also keep in mind that now we're talking about the expectation, right, is that children should be reaching this milestone by this age, but there's some kids that will not reach those milestones by the age of 3, for example, like the kids that might have some difficulties. So just be alert on those things. So again, the physical would be like be able to grasp things, like make letters, start doing something like gross models. They should be able to start grabbing a pencil or a pen or Crayola, drawing little things. Then the cognitive is the ability to think and learn. At this age, they should be able to at least tell you what happened at school. Sometimes they will not want to talk to you about it, what happened in school, daycare, or in preschool. But they should be able to tell, oh, I read this book, or we read this book, or we did this. They should be able to count what is 1 + 1 is 2. So but we're not going to focus too much on those two, because I would like to spend some time on language development and social emotional development. The reason why I like to spend some time on these two areas is because I believe that during the pandemic or during COVID, some kids, if they were COVID kids, they might experience some delays in these two areas. And let me just give you an example of that. My child, my daughter, she's 3 years of age. She's a pandemic baby. She was born on April, and she had some difficulties, social emotionally speaking. She had some difficulties like making friends. She has still now she has some hard time managing her emotions. So, and I think that a lot of the behavior that she's exhibiting in this area is because during that time, my husband and I were the only ones with her. We didn't socialize with the family. We didn't interact with other kids. We didn't do a lot of activities. So we kind of like isolated her from the world. So this is the area that I think that a lot of parents are struggling right now when it comes to social emotional milestone and language too. I personally have noticed that there's a lot of kids now that are experiencing language delays. They're not communicating well. They're not, at the age of 3, they should be able to use at least 2 to 3 words in a sentence. So we have noticed that there has been a delay on those 2 areas. So we wanted just to highlight that. That yeah, the pandemic could have had an impact, but they still, because they're so young right now, that they still have time to catch up if we provide the right tools for them. Next slide, please. So because we already talked about development, at least some activities that you can use at home that can help and support your children. For example, baking, cooking and baking is an activity that will help a lot, and not just to develop a relationship with your child, make it stronger, but also it helps with language, it helps with the ability of thinking, critical thinking, right? Because they have to count how many cups of sugar or how many cups of something they had to put into it, right? So involving your children into cooking and baking, there is a process for them to learn a lot of things. They can learn new skills. They can expand their concept of language, emotional. They had to learn to regulate their emotions, because sometimes they might want to add more things, or they might want to do it quick. They had to learn that they had to take their time to do this. They had to follow steps, right? If we are following a recipe, we had to follow those steps. So the other one that I like, and this is something that I have done with my kids, is the sensory and water play. I love this activity because it helps with the nervous system, encourage development of fine motor skills. My daughter had a hard time with fine motor skills, so now by doing this activity, she has improved a lot. It also the scientific thinking, right? What do you do if you put something in water? What do you do if you put this object like the toys? What is going to happen? So she loves that. She loves the curiosity of finding out what is going to happen if she puts her favorite toys in the water. Also encourage repetition, right? Because you're repeating and repeating and repeating, and that is language. They're learning language. So next slide, please. Another activity that you can do at home is Play-Doh. Again, Play-Doh it helps a lot with sensory skills, language skills, encourage communication. Like kids normally tend to say what they're doing. If they are making an animal, they will tell you, "Oh, I'm making something. I'm making this." So encourage a lot of the developmental milestones that we already talk about it. Coordinating their fingers, their eyes, making sure that they are like manipulating their fingers, also using critical thinking. What should I do? How do I can put this animal to stick together? Storytelling, this is the one that I love the most. It stimulates curiosity, right? When we read to our children, it also helps us to spend time with them. And they are able to expand their vocabulary, they're able to communicate. I love storytelling because storytelling is not just also for learning about how to communicate your language or critical thinking, but also it helps a lot in the future when something has happened to them. They can use it as as a story. And one example that would be, we know that the brain, the right side of the brain, right, is the emotional part. So when we think about our children ages 3 to 5, they normally function with that side of the brain. So they're not using the left side, which is just the problem solving, the critical thinking, right? At that moment is my emotion. So for me, storytelling helps me a lot when dealing with behaviors. So because these kids at this age, kids are functioning more with the right side of the brain, which is emotion. So that all that you will see will be behaviors related to emotions. So when they learn about storytelling, they will tell you something happened, so I fall. So what happened after that? And they will create like a story of what happened. My child is really good at that. Telling the stories when she doesn't know how to communicate what happened. Next. So some of the areas of potential development concern would be social emotional. Some of the things that you should be looking into is that during these ages, does is my child ignoring other kids? Is he or she trying to socialize with other children? If she's not interested in another children, withdraw? Is she or he not talking to other, trying to make friends with other kids? And is she empathetic? Is she showing empathy, or she's showing like somebody gets hurt? Is she or he concerned about it, or gives a compliment? If your child is not doing all those things, then it should be something that you should start thinking about it and maybe looking for help. Language communication, again, at this age, your child should be able to talk, to use sentences, to be able to communicate. So if you see that he or she is not talking, is not communicating, is not even using one word, or is not using a speech or trying to have conversation, that should be a concern. Next slide, please. In the area of cognition, we're talking about like is the child able to learn? Some kids, again at this age, they should be able to know the alphabet or at least recognize some letters. So if they're not able to recognize some letters, not able to play puzzles at the age of 5, they should be able to play puzzles, right? Are not capable of learning new information, that should be a concern. And again, motor and physical, and in the area of motor and physical development, we are talking about the inability of grabbing a pen or using their fingers, feeding themselves. Like if they're having trouble with that, that should be a concern. And not jumping or not running, if their muscles are weak, what could be something that you as a parent can do to support them, and should be a concern at this time. So I'm assuming that the reason why you're in this training is because you would like to understand a little bit more about behaviors and what to do. So right now we're going to be talking about behaviors. And one of the things that before we go into, I would like to kind of remind you is that when we're talking about behavior, we also have to remember or learn our kids' temperaments. I think that is very critical. There's 3 types of temperaments in children at this age, and that is easygoing, slow to warm, and active. One of the reasons why I think that is important to know this is because if you have a child that is active, that means that you need to be ready if you go out. Like if you go to the store, you need to be ready. You need to be ready that that kid is going to have a hard time if you say, no, I'm not buying that toy. If it's easygoing, most likely he or she is a happy child, right? Is an active child, but it will be, for those kids, it's easier to transition them, to bring them back and to help them with whatever behavior. So I think that knowing that for your child it could be critical. So that can help a lot to deal with some behaviors that you might experience. So child behavior is not always what it seems. Sometimes we only see the behavior, but we don't see the causes of the behavior. So I love this picture that we have here in the presentation because it's kind of like it reminds us, right, that before we react or say things or to address the behavior, that we need to think about what happened earlier. And let me give you an example of that. When my child doesn't take a nap, and I pick her up after school, um, I immediately, like, she has zero tolerance for things, for no, especially. She asks for the phone, I say no, and she just have a meltdown. Like, it's so hard, and it's so hard to take her out of that. And she didn't have her nap, and I noticed that every time she takes a nap, is a different child. She's a completely different child. So when she has a nap, I'm able to kind of negotiate with her and kind of work with her why I said no about the phone. But when she doesn't nap in school, there's no way. Nothing that I say, it works. Nothing that I say. She's not willing to listen to me. She's not willing to accept anything. She's not willing to even talk to me. And she says that to me. She goes like, I don't want to talk to you ever, never, in Spanish. So it's very I think that before we address the behavior, to me, I always, as a parent, I always think that I need to give myself time out instead of giving time out to the child. It helps me to calm down. So again, when we are looking into behaviors, we have to think about what happened. Did the child sleep? Did the child hungry? What are some of the things that might be triggering or causing these behaviors? Um, some of the things that I would say to stay away from that is like the reaction that we have. And sometimes we say things like, why did you do that? Or don't do that. It makes me feel sad. Or I already told you to stop. Or why are you not listening to me? I think that those phrases are the first one. Why do you do that? It implies an answer, right? That the kid will feel that you want an answer from him or her. But the reality is that during this age, there's going to be kids that are not going to be able to provide an answer because language might not be there to explain why they did it. They might not even know why they did it. So a step away from saying those comments. And if you say, I already told you to stop, most likely the child forgot about it, do not know why he or she needs to stop the behavior. Even us adults forget things. There are so many things that we're commands that we're telling our kids every day, and it's hard at times for them to keep track of what are the things that how they should behave, and how they should not be behaving. So again, when we are looking into behavior, it will be critical to start thinking about those things that are under the surface, like in the picture, like social skills, developmental level, attention, sleep, thoughts, physical safety, need for connection, emotions like sadness, fear, anger. Think about those things and say like, oh, maybe that is triggering those behavior. Maybe she feel mad and now she having a tantrum because her friend said that didn't want to play with her. So look into those things. Next slide, please. So a typical behavior during that age will be imaginative play. Children at this age are often engaged in imaginative play where they invent stories, scenarios with toys and peers. At the age of 3, close to 5, children have difficulties to understand what is real and what is not real, what is reality, what is not reality. So that's when the fears come. So at that age, there's gonna be a lot of kids that might have fear to go to the bathroom or to even go to their bedroom. There's ghosts under the bed. There's a lot of things because they are not capable of understanding what is reality and what is not. So here, I think that is the time when we have to be very careful on the things that they're watching, because most of the time that could encourage a lot of those fears too. Like if they see a ghost when they're watching a cartoon or something, they might think that that is real, that a ghost exists and is trying to get them. Active learning. Children at this age are curious. They will explore the environment. They're trying to learn. They want to learn. They're drawing. They're painting. They love to make mess. They like to spend time on doing things, especially outside. Um, Testing limits. This is the age where children are going to test your limits all the time. eh, all the time. And you have to be ready to set up those boundaries, right? There's kids that, again, that they're going to have tantrums, that they were, if you go to the store and they want a toy and you say no, that child is going to have a meltdown, right? It's going to start crying. They're going to start doing a lot of things. They're going to start running around doing a lot of things, to see what are you going to be doing? How are you going to be handling that situation? So next slide, please. So here are some strategies to managing some challenging behaviors. And one is that do what feels right. Each family is unique. Each family has a different routines, have a different way of managing things. And here goes to the question that I asked you, right? Like some of us were raised differently. Some of us have different way of parenting. We have different parenting styles. And how we raised, what parenting style was used with us, we tend to kind of like use it, whether it's conscious or unconsciously. What I mean by that is, and I will share an example. I was raised by caregivers that they scream a lot. I never got hit. Nobody hit me. Never got corporal punishment, but I did get a lot of scream. That was the way for my aunt to correct me. So sometimes I had to tell myself I'm not gonna do that, because my reaction at times to some behaviors is screaming. But I'm always and constantly reminder that that's not the way to go. Scream is not gonna solve anything. So do what is right. Like whenever you do whatever you do has to feel right for your child, yourself, and your family. You know your child, and we talk about temperaments. If it's a child that is easygoing, most likely it's going to be an easy way to transition the child back to adjust to something. If it's somebody who's active, right, based on the child, then or personality too. Right now they're developing that personality. You have to also make sure that you're taking into consideration that. So the first strategy will be making sure that you do what feels right for you and for your child. And if you had to give yourself time out, then give yourself time out. Be consistent. This is a big one. Children need that consistency. If you react to your child's behavior in one way and one day and a different way the next one, for them it's gonna be confusing. It's like, what? Like, but yesterday you allowed me to watch TV. What happened now? So consistency is very important when managing behaviors. And I get it. As a parent, you just want that child to stop crying and you give up. You just give them the phone, right? You like, for me, sometimes I'm cooking and then I have the 3-year-old asking to watch TV. Then I have the 1-year-old crying because she want me to carry her, right? And it would be easy for me just to give up and say, you know what, let me carry my baby, let me put her TV, but she already used her time of TV. So it's hard. It's hard because I had to do other things. And it's hard to say no because TV could be like a babysitter at that time. But consistency is very important. If I already said no, it means no. Or if I already explained the reasons of why I'm not doing this, it should stay that way. Next slide, please. Manage your reaction. And I think that I already kind of talk about this. Like we had to make sure that when our children do something frustrated, we need to manage how we react to that. If we quickly give them whatever they want just because they're crying or just because they're doing a scene in at the store or with our families or in a public space, we had to make sure that we know how to get to that situation. And again, if we had to take deep breath, or if we had to stop for a second, um, my reaction at times is very catastrophic. I'm a very anxious parent. So it's like when they do something, like for example, when my daughter's going to trying to go to the stairs to the second level of the house, I'm always panicking. So I'm always telling myself, no, like I need to manage my reaction, because once she gets scared, right, can get scared. And the second one, the behavior after that is not going to be a happy one. So I had to make sure that I manage my reaction when I see that. In my head, I'm thinking that that is dangerous, right? That something might happen to her. But I just go grab her and try to distract her as soon as I get her with something else. Talk to your child. I think that this is very important. I think that at this age, children are again using language, so they should be able to say things to you. And here I will encourage parents to tell your children to use words. Like when a child's crying, say, I will get to you as soon as you're done crying. Let me know when you're ready to talk to me. Let me know when you're ready. Let them, um, let them that emotion out, and then talk to them. Explain to a child why you want them to do something differently, um, or how you can help them to make things better. But don't do it at that moment when they're having the meltdown. When they're crying, it's not the time, because we said before that kids are working with the right brain, meaning that they are work based on emotions. So at the time, whatever we say is not gonna connect to them. If we say stop the behavior, or why are you doing that, is not gonna work. Um, so it's very important that after they have that we talk to them, that we explain to them why we want them to act differently, or why we want them not to do certain things, because maybe it's not safe for them to do it. Next slide, please. Notice the good. Sometimes the parents we focus on the negativity, like, oh, you cry all the time, or you do this, or you do that. I think that it would be good to focus, like, oh, yesterday you had a good day, you did it, focusing on the positive. Notice what they have been doing. Make an effort to notice the positive behaviors and point them out. Like, oh my God, last night you helped putting the table, setting the table for dinner, or you did all these things. They feel very proud when you notice those behaviors, and we are not just focused on the bad behaviors, all the difficult time that they had. So this one is a good strategy to support them. Next slide, please. So when to seek help. So we kind of mentioned that that there's going to be challenges behaviors, and they're going to continue and cause our child to feel distress. So if you feel right that you don't know how to manage those behaviors, and you're having a challenge to have a conversation with your child how to manage your behavior, we are here to help you. We are next level of counseling services. We can provide guidance, consultation on how to connect with your child. If it needs to, what will be some developmentally appropriate, right, behaviors, because there should be, there is a difference between that. Um, provide strategies that you can use at home, because again, every child is unique. Every child has a different personality. Every child has a different temperament. So we need to look into that in order to develop different strategies. So we are here to coming up with ideas on how to deal with behaviors. We also can help you out to set up plans and guide you on how you can support your child, whether it's behavior or other problems they're facing. Um, I think that again, going back to COVID, I think a lot of kids at this age have developed anxiety. whether it's general anxiety or they also face separation anxiety. And as a parent, it's hard to recognize that and provide support. So if you notice that your child is also going through some issues related to anxiety, we can help you with navigate that. We are here. And if you see that your child is facing some developmental delay, whether it's physical, um, gross motor, fine motor, or language, you should consult with your pediatrician. You should consult with a professional in that area, and we also can guide you too, like what steps you should take when it comes to getting evaluation or getting support in those areas that are not related to mental health or counseling. And again, this is us. We are 3 clinicians. We are certified or licensed in DC and Maryland. This is our website where you can go and visit us and get more information who we are, what we do. So again, we are Next Level Up Counseling Services, and our website is nextlevelupcounseling.com. You can check it out. If you would like to request a consultation with us, we have a 15-minute consultation. It's free. You don't have to pay for that, and we are here to help you. Thank you so much for participating in this workshop. Again, we're very excited that you were able to make it and spend some time with us. So right now, if you have questions, we will be here to answer those questions. And just to remind you too, that next Saturday, February 17 at 10 a.m., we're going to have the second workshop on how to support children's ages 6 to 11.